Hey, welcome to another edition of the Scott Hamilton Show. And it is cold outside, people. Cold outside. We had a monster storm ravage a lot of America, a lot of the South, the Eastern Seaboard, just, snow, sleet, ice, freezing rain, sub-zero temperatures in some places, but cold, freezing temperatures in a large swath of that footprint. But it's supposed to get really cold in a few days. So, man, just bear with it, people. Spring will be here before we know it. Here's something else to keep in mind. That we had this awful storm over the weekend, but we had some really good basketball, really good men's basketball, really good women's basketball. And we had individual performances. We had great team performances. We had some conferences stepping up and improving their stock. So just really good basketball through and through. We're going to go over some of those performances. And also the big news going into the weekend, which had nothing to do with something on the court, but in a courtroom, that being the Charles Bediako saga down in Alabama. Real quick, former Alabama player, went pro 3 years ago, signed some two-way contracts, spent 3 years in the G League, decides he wants to go back to college, sues the NCAA in a Tuscaloosa court. Judge grants him a temporary restraining order, making him eligible to play. And guess what? He suits up and plays against Tennessee on Saturday. We're going to discuss that with Seth Greenberg, two-time ACC Coach of the Year, now an analyst for ESPN, when he joins us in a few moments. I want to get his take on that. What does it mean individually for Charles Bediako? What does it mean from the team perspective with regards to the Crimson Tide? And what does it mean for college basketball? The system, is it broken? Who makes the rules? Those are all things we'll discuss with Seth Greenberg in a few moments. Right now, let's get to some headlines. And I mentioned those individual performances, just absolutely fantastic. 3 freshmen in this freshman class. We haven't seen a freshman class like this in a long time. 3 freshmen score at least 40 points, 42 points, actually. Kingston Flemings of Houston had 42 in that loss to Texas Tech. A.J. Bonsa from BYU had 43 in a win over Utah. And then Illinois' Keaton Wagler, probably the number 1 pick in the NBA draft, 46 points, an upset win at Purdue. So just absolutely outstanding. ESPN research saying it's the first time in at least 20 years, that multiple freshmen have scored 40 or more points in a single day. But it's not an isolated incident, and it's not just those guys I mentioned. There are freshmen stepping up all over the place. Darius Acuff at Arkansas, 31.6 assists in a win over LSU. And then the ACC. ACC Rookie of the Year alone should be a compelling contest going right down to the end of the season between Duke's Cam Boozer and UNC's Caleb Wilson. So Caleb Wilson, who's had a fantastic year for the Tar Heels, fantastic year. They're playing Virginia. They win 85-80. He goes 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. That's a great day, except Cam Boozer in that 96-1 win over Wake. Well, he had 32 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. Can't wait to see how the voting for that pans out. That'll be one of the questions we'll ask Seth Greenberg when he joins us. Who's the ACC Rookie of the Year? Cam Boozer or Caleb Wilson? By the way, I mentioned Charles Bediako, and Alabama lost to Tennessee 79-73. Really no shame in it. Alabama without Aiden Holloway and Amari Allen, that's 29 combined points right there, and yet they still only lose by 6. But the big takeaway is Bediako. Bediako looked really good. I mean, you're getting a 7-foot shot blocker who comes in, athletic, takes up a lot of space, 13 points, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals, played 25 minutes, missed only 1 of his 6 shots, and 4 of his made field goals were dunks. Whew. I already am very high on Alabama when their 3-pointers are going down, but what to make of it now that you have a force like Bediako, a veteran, or don't forget, he's 3 years in the G League after playing a couple of years at Alabama, knows the system. What does this do for that dynamic? Suddenly Alabama's stock, I have to think, even in a loss, going up. Smart people aren't popping champagne corks onto this, saying, well, this is a win for fair play and the amateur model and all that. Wrong. Remember, Alabama down 2 key players, and Tennessee ain't too bad. So we'll monitor that going forward, and I'm sure Seth Greenberg will have some thoughts on it when he joins us also in a few minutes. Big week coming up team-wise. And these are 3 games that I'm really looking forward to. I'm so excited for these games. And they start Monday night, number 1 Arizona, taking on number 13 BYU. You know, there are about 5-6 teams that you could put at number 1 and nobody would really argue. Nobody would give you any pushback on it. This is a chance for Arizona to make a real statement, also for BYU to say, yeah, we are the real deal. So we'll follow that game. Here's one that's got my attention more than anything. Number 7, Nebraska at number 3, Michigan. And also remember, Michigan plays Michigan State later in the week. That'll be a titanic matchup besides being an in-state rivalry. What are we to make of Nebraska? Is that 20-0 legit, or is it Fugazi? We'll find out. You know, Michigan, one of those teams that has been at number 1 for a period of time during this season, could be at number 1 now. Nobody would really argue it. How are they going to look? How are they going to look against the Cornhuskers? How are they going to look against the Spartans? We'll touch on that with Seth Greenberg as well. Some women's basketball. South Carolina. Whew. Beat Vanderbilt. Previously unbeaten Vanderbilt, 103-74 in Columbia. Commodores' first loss. It started off 20-0 for the first time in school history. Took one on the chin pretty bad to the Gamecocks. Don Staley and crew, that's their second SEC win versus a top 5 opponent in their last 4 games. Beat number 4 Texas earlier this month, 68-65. So just once more, just a wonderful weekend of college basketball. And a lot to look forward to as we go deeper into the season and closer to conference tournaments and then, of course, the NCAA tournaments. How will these freshmen continue to develop? That's a big question. What will they look like come tournament time? Who steps up? Who doesn't step up? Is there another one out there that maybe we're not paying attention to? We'll ask Seth Greenberg when he comes aboard. And then also I want to see what happens with this Bediako thing. Tuesday's his hearing. How is that going to work out? What kind of impact will that have on Alabama going forward? What will the NCAA, how will it react if Bediako gets a green light to play? We're going to ask all those questions and more when Seth Greenberg, 2-time ACC Coach of the Year, analyst for ESPN, joins us on the other side. Stick around.
Sports fans, it's time to gear up. Head to fanstreamsports.com and check out our brand new merchandise store. We're talking bold t-shirts, 3/4 zips, hoodies, hats, mugs, and more. Everything you need to rep your favorite shows and your favorite crew. Whether you're rolling with the JP Peterson Show in Tampa Bay, From the Rough in Dallas, the Tim May Show featuring Clay Hall, or the Jeff Thidoff Show in Ohio, or any of our Fanstream Sports original programming, we've got the perfect look for game day and every day. So don't wait. fanstreamsports.com. Click merch and grab your gear now. Wear the stream, live the stream, fanstreamsports.com.
And again, it was just a fantastic weekend of college basketball. Dozens of games played, fantastic matchups. But Saturday for me and for a lot of folks was really defined by the performances of some freshmen, by what is being considered by many folks, perhaps the best freshman class we've seen in some time. Well, I'm going to ask one of those folks. He's an expert. I want to get his opinion. It's our friend Seth Greenberg, 2-time ACC Coach of the Year. Seth, how good are these freshmen?
They're terrific. And it's not just the scoring. 3 guys get 40 points. Darius Acuff goes for 30s plus. Nate Emet goes for 29. I mean, Wagler and Devance and Fleming and all those guys went in the 40s. But it's their basketball IQ. It's their feel for the game. They're not chasing shots. They're taking good shots. The game comes to them in the flow of the game. They're terrific passers. Caleb Wilson, the energy that these guys play with. If you look at these freshmen, whether it's Cam Boozer or Wilson or DeBanza or Wagler or Flemings, all of them play the game the right way, and all are committed not just play the game, but play the game to win, are good teammates, and are intentional about competing at a very high level. And that's the hardest thing to teach a freshman, is to play to win, not to play, not to play for stats, but to be part of the solution, to be a winning player. And these freshmen, and there's just so many of them, have done that seamlessly. I mean, they're all about doing and playing the right way.
How do we get something like this? I mean, is this like Haley's Comet where it's by happenstance, or is there something happening at the lower levels where the development is becoming so advanced that allows these guys to step in and be good ball players, not just good scorers, but good ball players, to your point, with high IQs?
I think that USA basketball has a little bit to do with it. The USA basketball programs where it is all about winning, and all these guys played, came up, or most of them came up and played through USA basketball. I think that, uh, look, grassroots basketball is one thing. It's a necessary evil, and there's good and bad in everything in life. There are good programs, there are bad programs. There are good teachers, there are bad teachers. There are good parents, there are bad parents. There are good workout guys, there are bad workout guys. Uh, I think these kids are so focused, and the only concern I have, and they're all terrific, and all that I've come across have been terrific kids. But they all talk about being professional. Got to have a professional approach. Got to carry yourself like a pro, and all that stuff sounds good, and I think it is good. Except I'm not sure I want an 18-year-old. Are you a professional, or are you lost in the game? Like, get lost in the game, get lost in the process, get lost in the joy, get lost in your teammates. Now they are doing a good job with that. But don't burn yourself out at 18, because the grind can never be a burden. It's got to be a joy. It's got to be a passion. It's got to be something that you're committed to, and you love doing. You do what you love, and you love what you do. You can do it for a long time. If you do it because you think it's a responsibility, you're going to get burned out. So I think USA basketball, because when you play USA basketball at the 16s, 17s, the 18s, and 19s, there's only one goal: to win a gold. So, like, you get these best players together, and they all have to give up a little bit of themselves for the good of the group. Uh, but it's the masses that I think are getting hurt a little bit. It's the understanding of, it's the hovering helicopter parents a little bit that are putting pressure on these young people. A lot has to do because it's a business now. Because with pay for play, it becomes a business. But these guys are special. I mean, Darius Acuff, what he did for Arkansas yesterday is incredible. I mean, you see the improvement of Natum. Like there's a perfect example. Everybody says, well, college guy's going to be there for 6 months. Well, Natum, man, like, he was settling for the shots the defense wanted him to take early in the season. If you watched him yesterday against Alabama, he got the shots he wanted because he's being coached. And I think the one thing that these young players I would like to see, when you're with your college team, you don't need a workout guy. That's what your college assistant coach is for. You don't need a workout guy because your agent says he wants to fly in a workout guy to work out with you, because they want more people, kind of in the circle of influence and hovering around these people. Let the college coaches coach them. I'll tell you, they're going to do a heck of a job. These guys are professionals at individual player development, concept development, team development. So it's been fun to watch, though. These guys know how to play.
Yeah, and this might be the worst question you've ever been asked, Seth, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there. Is there any chance, and in previous years it would have been zero, but is there any chance that some of these guys come back because A, maybe they think they can improve their game a little bit more and project a little higher with the NBA, and B, they're going to get a boatload of money to do it, thank you, through NIL? Is there any chance we see some of these guys next year in college?
Like the Mark Cuban offering Mendoza all that money. The only guy that I would think maybe there's a chance maybe is Acuff, because you see his body changing in front of you. But these other guys, no, I don't think there's any chance. I mean, they're all in school. They all probably would have maybe even been gone right out of high school if that was still allowed. Not saying that's a good decision. I actually think that the year in school, the year on a campus, the year of interacting with students, the year of growth individually, not just on the basketball court, the opportunity you might meet someone that, hey, you blow out your knee. You might meet someone, eating in the cafeteria or across the campus, or a person that you just have something in common with, that you meet as a fan, and that person 10 years from now might be a person that builds a bridge for you to cross to give you an opportunity away from your sport. So no, but I think these guys, Wagler could, he's kind of been a flash in the pan, but my gut feeling is these guys are all gone. I mean, they're all gone. I mean, Kingston Fleming's, the burst he plays with is ridiculous. The Bansa, the maturity, Cam, the way he carries himself. I mean, they're all. I just think the thing that impresses me the most is how these guys carry themselves I mean, it's so impressive to me, and how poised they are with all the chaos around them.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And before we put a pin in the freshman issue, I have to ask you this. Who's your ACC freshman of the year right now? Because as much as I love Cam Boozer, I watch Caleb Wilson night in and night out, and I think he might actually be more valuable to his team than Cam Boozer. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I couldn't make a decision yet because, I mean, look, Duke, they got to play through Cam Boozer. He makes the game easier for everyone else. Caleb has Vasar to play with them up front, and it's so good together in terms of their post-to-post game. They got Seth Dribble. They got some young guys. Duke. I think the key has been since Sar's been in the lineup. They've improved dramatically defensively, and I think Sean's like he's almost. I mean, John's almost like a situation where he's got a football team. He's got his offensive team, and he's got his defensive team. The problem is he can't trot out that defensive team after a missed shot or a turnover. He's got to keep that offensive team on the court. On the other hand, if they get 3 and out or get a stop, he's going down the other end of the court with his defensive team. So I think John's done a great job. Look, I love them both. I mean, I think that when I look at Caleb Wilson, I look at a guy that has the energy of Antonio McDyess. Yeah, I mean, he's got a burst and an energy that is really something, and also with enthusiasm like a Kevin Garnett. So like he's a mix in there, and then Cam is just his maturity, his physicality. The ball finds him. He makes the biggest plays at the biggest times. He's all about winning. He's shown this ability to step out. Look, they're both great. I mean, they really should give it to both of them because they both have been so important to the ACC, this year and the college game.
Yeah, the ACC has absolutely been fantastic this year. Just a couple more topics, Coach, before I let you go. I'm going to come back to an actual basketball topic to wrap it up, but I have to get your take on the Charles Bediako situation. 13 points, 3 rebounds. I mean, or 2. He had a great night. He had 2 blocks.
He was great. He
steals.
was a rim protector. He was a lob threat. He got to the offensive glass. He makes the game easier. They lost, but they're significantly better with him.
Yeah, and they lost down 29 points from Holloway and Allen weren't in the mix too, so you have to wonder what that's going to be like going forward.
Yeah. I mean, look, they got the 3 little guards. LeBaron Philon separated himself. They need Allen to be good. I think he's really important. Like Bediako, Allen, and Philon. Then they got to figure out the other 2 guys that are going to play alongside that group. Because if he's playing, that's going to be their big 3 in a lot of ways. So, I mean, Holloway's got to have the ball in his hands, maybe get stuck a little bit. Reitzel can really, really shoot it. Millette's probably the easiest to play with because the ball doesn't get stuck. Having said that, we'll find out Tuesday if he's playing the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and this is real simple. And I said this on game day yesterday. You don't have to, there are a lot of rules the NCAA has when I coached for 34 years, I didn't like. But you know what? The NCAA is the governing body of college athletics. And as an institution, you are voluntarily a member of, and if you are a member, your job is to abide by the rules. You don't have to like the rules, but you have to abide by the rules. And for everyone who says, well, it's just one guy and you only have 6 points a game in the G League and this and that, all that stuff sounds great. But, or all of a sudden that I think a lot of people are talking about, he wants to get his degree. I heard Greg Bird say, he's going to come back. He's going to concentrate. He could have concentrated on his degree while he was in the G League. I mean, all of a sudden he had this epiphany. Look, for the kid, I'm happy for it. I just think if he is deemed eligible and they win this case, why would any player not put his name in the draft? Why would any player not try to get to the combine? Why would any player then, if they didn't get to the combine, try to get on the summer league team? Why would any player try to exhaust everything they could and then come the end of July, decide if they're going to stay at the school they were at or go somewhere else? So there are certain guidelines that we all must follow. I drive to ESPN every day, right? It's 50 miles an hour. Right? If I go 60 and I get pulled over, I'm held accountable, right? Because the rules are the rules. So if we don't have guidelines, then we have chaos. And right now, we have chaos.
Does it also cut the NBA Players Association off at the knees a little bit, because it kind of makes the
Yeah.
one and done redundant? Guys can go enter the draft right out of high school, or go sign
Yep.
a pro contract somewhere else, and then to say, "Oh, I'm going to go back to college."
Yeah. No, I think I don't think the Players Association is all for this, to be honest with you. And it eliminates the G League. G League is non-existent. Because all these G League guys, why is it non-existent? Because all these G League guys want to come back to college. Well, why do they want to come back? It's a business decision. Their agent wants to make 20% when they're coming back to college. It's a flat out business decision. A judge in Tuscaloosa, a player that is making a two-way salary, and he probably makes $700,000-$800,000, and an institution that needs a rim protector. Let me ask you, what's going to happen next year? If the Carolina Panthers, who's their quarterback? Stroud, right? Was that the guy?
No, Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Bryce Young's the quarterback, and and he's a really good player. But say they have a backup quarterback back on the whatever they call that, the practice squad. All right, and North Carolina loses their quarterback in fall practice. What stops Bill Belichick from going over to Carolina Panthers and say, "Hey, you got a year left eligibility. You're in the practice squad. You come over here. I'll pay $1 million. You come over here. You be our quarterback for a year."
It's the ludicrous rule of you. Well, as long as you don't make more than your expenses. Well, who's to say what the expenses are?
Well, the European guys, everyone's. Look, I agree that the European guys are pros. All right, the European guys are pros. All right, and they're getting paid real money, whether it's on the books or not on the books. They're getting paid real money. The NCAA, the only place I fault the NCAA, I fault Alabama, the president, the athletic director, maybe in the SEC for the shenanigans with what's going on in a lot of ways. But to me, we're in a situation where everyone is trying to find a way around the rule. And eventually what's going to happen, we can't legislate a level playing field. So the Power Fives are going to break off, because you can't have 361 schools and have a commonality amongst them. And they're going to break off, and then they're going to have their own set of rules to still have the NCAA tournament, except I think that the Power Fives will have a lot more bids, and all those one bid leagues will be in the first four on the opening day, and they'll play their way into the bracket, but we'll still have opportunity for upsets. But it's so difficult. It just blows my mind that an administration could go and say, we're a member institution of the NCAA. We don't like this rule. So you know what? We're going to take it in court. We're going to get a TRO. We're going to get an injunction, and we're going to try to do what we want to do, and then turn around and say, well, we're just doing it for the betterment of the sport. It's the NCAA is going to end up, who knows what's going to happen with it, but they're in a no-win situation, because they never win a case in a court of law.
That's a fact. Coach, I could talk to you all day. I've got one more topic I want to hit with you really quickly about actual basketball, because your knowledge is unassailable. Big week in the Big Ten and the Big 12. We got Michigan playing Nebraska and Michigan State. We've got Arizona at BYU. What of everything I just threw out there, what are you looking forward to the most? Who are we going to learn the most about this week?
Nebraska is an interesting one, because they remind me of Indiana football. Older team, maturity, tough, physical, aggressive, play one play at a time. Have improved dramatically defensively with their grit. Offensively, they play with great spacing. Everyone plays to their strengths. I think we'll find out a lot about Nebraska. Obviously, that's an incredible matchup. And then, Michigan State, we're going to find out a lot about. What Tom's done, this is the best coaching job in country. Right now, Tom, we talk about coaches of the year. What Tom Izzo's done with this team, no one else could have done. No one else could have done. So, I mean, I think Big Ten has their thing. The BYU Arizona game, BYU, when they've played ranked teams, has not done a very good job defensively. They've not shot the three as well. They're turning it over at a higher rate. They're not rebounding as well. But DeBanza is an incredible matchup problem. And when they get him the ball in the middle of the floor, that's going to be interesting. On the other side, I think Arizona has an 8-man starting rotation. When you can bring Tobe Awaka off the bench, when you have Del Orso coming off the bench, To me, Jaden Bradley is one of the best closers in college basketball. They have more ways to beat you, similarly to like Michigan. They have the largest margin of error. So I just think it's, you know what it is? I'm in the studio tomorrow night. I'm gonna sit back and I'm just gonna enjoy watching good ball, and the games will tell a story. But look, the Big 12 is the best conference in college basketball. The Big Ten's right behind them. The SEC is still going to get 8 or 9 teams in the tournament, and the ACC has been reborn. And it's been real simple. Investment equals expectation. They invested in Virginia. They invested in NC State. They've invested now. They got to find a way to invest in some of these others. Carolina's they're not all the way back, but they're closer to being back. And they got to guard the three. They got to guard a ball screen.
Yeah.
I mean, Carolina's ball screen defense in those losses was just horrific. You're going to corral the ball with Vasar. He's got to be able to corral the ball. You can't let him get outside. If you're going to switch, all right, then switch. When you rotate off the switches, everyone's got to be on the same page. But look, we're in for. We have more good teams. We have more incredible great freshmen. We have incredible competition. Uh, these next 7 weeks, everyone says the season doesn't start until the tournament. BS doesn't start until the tournament. These next 7 weeks, this whole season of college basketball has been spectacular. And I'm fortunate just to have a front row seat to just watch it. And I'm excited. I mean, every single night, college basketball never disappoints.
I have to ask you this. Indiana football, you've referenced it twice, so I'm obligated to get your opinion.
Yep.
I've told people, and I've given this some thought, I've told people it's not only the best story in the history of college football, I think it's the best story in the history of sports. And they could say USA hockey. We actually had hockey gold before 1980. Where do you put Indiana football in the hierarchy of sports stories?
I'll tell you one thing. I mean, I don't know the whole history of all sports, but the amazing thing is not just the championship this year. They flipped it in year 1 and validated it in year 2. And Kurt Cignetti, a funny story. When I was an assistant at Pitt, when I went to Virginia, in Elecco Pitt, I had a condominium. I actually rented it to GA football staff. And Kurt Cignetti was one of those guys that I rented it to, which is pretty funny. I think he owes me a month's rent, but what he's been able to do, and it's a great example. The most important part of recruiting is evaluation. The most important part of forget about 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. The most important part of recruiting is evaluation. Who can play for your head coach? Who can play for your system? Who is basically totally committed to the good of the group and winning? And you're only as good as your locker room. And great evaluation, great coaching, and a great locker room. And he flipped it in 2 years. I would agree with you. I can't imagine another sports story as good as that one.
Yeah, and it's not like taking a 500 program. I mean, it's the losingest program in the history of college football.
History, yeah.
I can't wrap my head around it. Seth Greenberg, I have bogarted your time, and I know
my pleasure.
Yeah, but you've had a hard time. You're fighting the snow and the ice and Lubbock.
I got back at 4:00 in the morning coming from Lubbock. It was trains, planes, and automobiles. It was drive to Midland, fly to Houston, fly to Newark, 3-hour drive to Bradley, drive home. But I'm home, and life is good. And they just cleared up my driveway. It makes no difference because that snow's coming down like it's rain. It's coming down so fast.
Coach, you're the best. I hope we talk again soon.
Appreciate it. All right, my pleasure. Thanks for
All
having
righty,
me.
that's Seth Greenberg.
All right, Scott.
And I want to thank Seth Greenberg for joining us. And just the guy knows ball, man. He just loves basketball, and his knowledge is unassailable. And I wonder, and I'm remiss for not asking him this question, I wonder if he were coaching now and he had an opportunity to do what Nate Oates did at Alabama, to get a player from the G League like a Charles Bediako, would he do it? Would he do it? I regret not asking him that question. Here's a question. Let's say that he's granted he's granted the injunction or whatever on Tuesday, Charles Bediako that is, and he's allowed to play. How does the NCAA respond? Can it respond? It seems to me, in everything I've read, that it would be a direct violation to punish Alabama in any way, shape, or form because he plays after a court rules that it's okay. And I have to think this. I have to think this also, that if Nate Oates or Greg Byrne, Alabama's athletic director, or anyone in their compliance office really had even a glimmer of doubt, about his eligibility being in question now or down the road after this TRO was granted, that he would not have suited up on Saturday. They would have went ahead and proceeded with that game without him. Okay. And that would have been one game that he would have been without. And let's assume that he's given the green light on Tuesday, then he could play going forward. But they obviously feel good about it. And I have to think they felt good about it from the get-go. I mean, you don't jeopardize your program, your entire season, in order to get a. I mean, it's not like he's going to come in and he's going to give you 40 points and 15 rebounds. I mean, yeah, he's a good player. He's a weapon by being that 7-foot rim protector, athletic. But it's not worth jeopardizing everything over. You get what I'm saying? So they feel pretty good about their case. But how do things change going forward, though, after this season? Are we going to see more coaches start going this route? The hypocrisy of him saying he wanted to go back to school, I agree with Coach Greenberg on that. That's BS. He could have taken online classes. Alabama would have accommodated him, I'm sure, while he was in the G League to help him complete his degree. That's something that's going to have to be addressed as well, that you can't lean into that. Okay, you should probably have to show proof or something to indicate that you really are doing it for your degree and you had made so many efforts over the years. It's just a lot to unpack, and where this ultimately goes, nobody knows. I mean, it's just a matter of time before it trickles over into football. The football NFL doesn't have a G League, but there are other entities comparable to the G League. Not directly related to the NFL, but you get what I'm saying. Or even players who come out and they don't get drafted, but they go to summer camp and they end up on a practice squad. A guy could be on a practice squad making the bare minimum and then decide, I want to go to college. Or as Coach Greenberg, he used a Bill Belichick example or analogy. Any college coach could go looking on practice squads of NFL rosters. Who has eligibility left? Who has eligibility left? And then make a play. They're going to make more probably. It's just, there's so much uncertainty. And it's like that throughout all of college athletics. Just so much uncertainty. We don't know the ramifications of this. We don't know the ramifications of that. And a big part of it's because everything is happening so fast or has happened so fast. We had more change in college athletics between 2000 and 2024 than we had in the entirety of the existence of individual sports, the history of baseball, the history of basketball, the history of football. It's at a dizzying rate. And that's why I don't really condemn the powers that be or the leaders, not that there's a lot of leadership, for not being prepared or having all the answers, because this is all foreign and it's hard to figure things out on the fly because of how everything's happening so fast. What's happening next with this? Never thought that Charles Bediako, an undrafted guy from 3 years ago, would be a center. I'm not going to say the center, but a center of the college basketball universe in 2026. Wrap your mind around that. I want to thank Seth Greenberg for stopping by. Again, his knowledge is absolutely unassailable regarding the game, and just an all-around good dude. I liked his breakdown also of Indiana football, and I agree. I think it's the greatest story in the history of sports, what they did, what they accomplished in such a short time frame, and it being done by a place that has absolutely no history, none. I mean, it's the opposite. They have a history of ineptitude. I don't know that anything tops it. I truly don't. USA Hockey had a gold medal, I believe, in 1960. So, it was great, the Miracle on Ice, but wasn't, it's not the best. You could do, people talk about all the stuff over in Europe that happened. I just, with the soccer, I don't see a better story. I truly don't. Even Villanova in 1985, they got into the tournament and got hot, and then they beat Georgetown in one game. This is a turnaround to not only become relevant, but to be a national champion and in the mix, in the conversation as maybe a greatest team ever. I don't think they are, but they've been tossed around in that conversation. It's incredible. And by a coach who didn't even get his first Power 4 job till he was 62 years old. Nobody else would hire him. It's absolutely phenomenal. We'll continue to break that down up until next season. But right now, I want to thank Coach Seth Greenberg. Remember, do all those things you do with podcasts. Subscribe, follow, like, whatever. Leave a comment. You can also communicate with me directly on Twitter, X, at Scott H Sports. Hit me up there. Questions, comments, complaints, whatever. If you have a topic you want us to discuss here, happy to do it. If there's a guest you would like to see, I'll try to facilitate it, chase them down. But otherwise, hey, stay safe and stay warm. Until next time.